Hey everyone, welcome to On the Ball with Rob, our very first podcast where we are going to be chatting about all things mindset, mental health, and we'll give you some practical tips on how you can apply them to make sure you are able to have and maintain a healthy, positive mindset. Today we have Rob Brady with us, part man, part machine. Really looking forward to hearing his story. So let's hand over to you, sir. Give us a bit of a lowdown on Rob Brady, his mission, why he does what he does, and what makes him tick.
Thanks for the intro. Thanks for the inviting me on as a guest. So who is Rob Brady? I, professional wise, I work with estate agents across the UK, going for a digital transformation within their business. So that encompasses all things like data, marketing, all sorts of bits and pieces. So there's a big shift in that. It's a transformation as whole teams on that part. Outside of work, I'm a big advocate of mental health fundraising. So I enjoy actually going out, running, doing challenges, all sorts of stuff just for fundraising of efforts for sort of mental wellbeing and mental health charities. And father of twins. And just an all-round, I really like to. I'm at the moment. I'm even doing a master's in coaching and mentorship, so I'm all about self-development and really looking into that. So I've been doing that for quite a few years, off the back of my own personal journey of self-discovery and self-awareness.
Amazing. So do you want to tell us a little bit about why you started? What really kicked you off into this whole fundraising and self-development, and getting out there and trying to help people? What was your motivating factor?
So we can go quite deep on this one. So previously, before I was an estate agent, I was a sales and lettings director of a branch, 28 members of staff, top of what I call my game at that time, mid-20s. And I'd spent a lot of time committing to that within my work environment. But then at the same time, I'd lost a lot of things like time with friends and getting out there and exploring it. So work became that one obsession I had, but it was quite an unhealthy obsession. So to be honest, I was getting to a point in sort of 2014, 2015, I got into a really bad headspace mental health wise, considering even taking my own life. And I was really contemplating it pretty much on a daily basis. And I was going through this struggle internally. At the time, I felt like I couldn't speak to anyone. I felt like, if I was to remove that mask that I had been provided in front of people, then I'd be, career would be over. People would think of me differently and that sort of side to it. So I was suffering quite silent. And that was 3 hours a night sleep, 2 hours a night sleep, same cycle, not seeing friends, hiding away, all excuses, being quite angry, all the telltale signs that people think that they've got an issue, but not actually understand like what is going on in that person's life. And then in early 2016, unfortunately, my best friend killed himself. And I didn't know that he had been suffering and had struggles for about 10 years before that. And he had professional help, seeked it, all of it. But it was a real, real dark, hidden thing to him that he didn't want anyone else sharing, similar to what I was doing. And the devastation of that really shocked me. It shocked me, it shocked the friends, the family. He was a real amazing character. He traveled the world, used to do a lot of martial arts, teaching people. And you never thought of anyone, he would be the person who would do that. So in that process of healing from that and seeing the destruction of that, I've gone on my own journey of just trying to be self-discovery and trying to go, right, but it's not going to happen to me because I don't want that to happen to any of my family or friends. I don't want to be on that, them to be on that receiving end if I decide to do that. So what can I do in myself to change myself and go on that journey? So I've been doing that since 2016.
Yeah, it's quite a story. Why do you think, and this is probably, you might be the best person to ask, why do you think we as humans are scared to let other people know that we've got few insecurities, or we feel and suicidal is quite extreme, because there's no coming back from it if you carry it out.
No.
Why do you think do you think it's a cultural thing that people don't want to speak about it and just get in front of, even to their best mates?
Yeah. It's quite an interesting one because since then, running I've run a community interest charity, which is a community interest company, all based around any fundraising for that goes to mental health charities. So we were always quite vocal in that, and you'd be surprised how many people reached out within that who couldn't talk to their own family and friends, but would happily speak to a random person on a clothing brand because they felt comfortable in that environment. And I think a lot of it comes down to social environments, but also how you were brought up as a child. I mean, if you look at how you form as an adult, it's so formed within your child stages and your teenage years. That tends to then have the effects on whether you feel you can be vulnerable people out there and have that face. And also, I think there's a lot of social demand on people that they have to be a certain way to fit within society. And if they're not in that way, then they'll be seen as something else other than that. So it's fear of being lost out of the tribe, going back to your primal instincts. Mm. So there's two factors, I think, to it. It's like how you're brought up as a child, and you need to almost get back to understanding that and understanding some of the psychology that you do today is what was from your childhood and how you break those cycles. And two, I call it finding your tribe. You have to find the right tribe to be vulnerable. When you find your right tribe, you can say anything and anything without judgment. And that could be your partner, your family, and your friends. And if you haven't got that, you almost have to have those awkward conversations with those people and saying, like, is that person right for me? Yeah. Are they should they be in my tribe? So yeah, I think that people struggle with that because it's avoided. Like, do you have conflicts when you go through that? To say to people like, I'm not going to be spoken to that, and this is how I really feel. And that's, sometimes people put away and they'd rather go down the other end of not living here anymore and feel like they're a burden on people.
Yeah, it's such a horrible place to be in. We should have people around us that, well, first of all, we can speak to and that cheer us on when we succeed. Yeah. Because I think that goes both ways. Quite often when you start succeeding, those are the very same people that want to start pulling you back down to the level that they feel comfortable at, or they feel they can't achieve further than that. So they sort of pull you back there, both sides, and you're sort of getting yanked. You're trying to achieve on both ends, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, and that's why I think it goes back to that whole tribe of like, who is in my tribe? Do they support my vibe? Do they support what I'm about and what I'm trying to achieve? And if they don't, you need to have understand, like, most of the time, it's people projecting their own insecurities and their own stuff on you. So the moment you realise, have the self-awareness around saying, like, they've not got a problem with me, it's just they need to do something internally inside them, then it detracts you from having that emotion, that thinking, like, why they don't support me? It's like, because it's their own self, they haven't dealt with their own issues inside. And then when you start to look around, a lot of people have that, then you realise you're not the issue, it's everyone else within that. It's quite an interesting one. Of all people, I once saw a video of Snoop Dogg, and he called it Closing the Gap. Yeah. And he talked about it on like a podcast, and he said, somewhere down the line, you want to go up to here, you want to reach your heights.
Yeah.
And some people are down there, and you try and push yourself up, and you get up there, and the only way those people you're going to go and help those people is you've got to come back down, but you've reached your new self. So he said, there's only amount of times before you go down to that level before you've got to say to them, hey, you need to close the gap to me because I'm trying to reach up to these new heights and you're not there with me.
I think Denzel Washington said it quite well. He says, if you do achieve those heights, each one to help one, and you just try and help one person to come and join you at those heights.
Yeah.
Which is, I quite like that. I always thought we get overwhelmed by the fact that maybe we've got 20 friends and we've gone, and now you've got to pick 19 people. But if you just bring one of them, and then they bring one, and then they bring one, and then your whole tribe will eventually be bringing someone up.
Yeah, definitely. It's an infectious thing when it happens. You change a community, don't you?
Yeah. But yes, it all starts with one person at the end of the day. So I introduced you as part man, part machine because I remember you doing some crazy David Goggins. Was it 4 marathons in 4? Or what were you doing over the
4 miles every 4 hours or 48 hours? Yes. So I started at 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning and finished at 1 o'clock on a Monday morning.
Yeah, I remember watching that. It was insane. So speak to me a little bit about that. So you've gone on this mission to fundraise, and you do these extreme marathons and these David Goggins challenges and stuff like that. The mental fortitude you need to get through that, as well as the physical capability to do it. I mean, how do you carry yourself? Because you get through some dark times when you start pushing your body to extremes.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be honest with you, and this goes very personal. I'd split from my partner when I did that challenge, and we were together quite some time, like 10 years, due to get married, and whether it broke down. And she was actually leaving that physical weekend. It just fell on that was the weekend. So her stuff was being moved out. She was moving out of that weekend at the same time I was doing that challenge. So like when you look at those parts of it, David Goggins, he talks about the cookie jar. And I thought, like, if I can get through this weekend, I'm bulletproof of anything within that capacity, because there's a massive change of what you're doing and who you are and molding as this new person, if you can achieve that whilst those things are going on. But how do I get through those sort of things? So what started me on my running journey originally, a few years ago, I went to a conference in London. A guy called Daniel Precy ran it, and there was a guy there called JP, and he was a coach, basically a trainer, a gym trainer, but he started to train like multi-billionaires around the world. So he would basically, fly around the world, live with someone for like 3 or 4 months, transform their body, move on to the next one. So I think he only dealt with like 10 people at any one time in any one year. And he used to do some crazy challenges. And he was cycling from the north of Scotland all the way down to like Land's End of some sort. And he was doing it within a particular time. On the last day, he got hit by a car. Someone was coming around a corner. He'd changed his journey because he realised they were going to fall short by about 10 miles. Come around the corner. He got hit by an uninsured drunk driver in the afternoon. Completely over thing. Impact was about 70 miles an hour. He survived purely by chance. The fact that the person driving past next time round, was actually a trained air ambulance paramedic and someone else, just come out from a health and safety course. They had the gas in there and everything like that. So his whole body was smashed. It was in casts. And this was like 7 months before. And he was on the stage that time after that, still recovering, still getting on there. And he was like, I'm going to go and run the London Marathon in 3 months. Who's joining me on that journey? And that day, I had received an email. I'd done a ballot for the London Marathon, the first time ever. And I received an email on that ballot, and it said, you'd got in. And I was thinking, like, how many people try every year and they don't get in? And like, This guy is literally, this is a meaning. The fact that he's about to do it, and less than a year ago, he was in a full body cast and almost like died multiple times. And he said he's going to do it. Anything is possible. So that's the day I committed to start doing running, and I couldn't even run around the block. I was overweight, used to smoke. I could trying to get around that block. I was struggling. I just thought, right, I'm going to do it one step at a time. Let's go around that block, see how much I can do it. And I did a training program, and it just got me into a whole different mindset, especially with going where I was in 2016 and going for that journey. A lot of the journey I'd gone through already was around like self-awareness and all that mind part to it. But then I thought, like, let's test to see how much my brain and my determination can take me. And I've did that challenge, and then the Goggins challenge. And then I've just started to do things like, if I can run marathons between 3 weeks apart. And now last time I did, beginning of this year, I did 2 marathons between 2 weekends. And in about a month's time, I'm about to run 2 marathons in 2 days to see whether I could achieve that.
That's mental. That's crazy.
But it's about taking you to that next level. And I think small things you can do every single day, it doesn't even have to be like running. But I look at it going like, if you go out and do some exercise and you go beyond your normal level, it sets you up for the day, it sets you up for the week, it sets you up for the month, because you're like, I've gone beyond the limits of my mind, and I've gone into something hell-wise, and I've smashed it and I've come out of it. So when something hits you that day, you're like, I can deal with this. The brain's already there. It's already gone beyond that.
Yeah, mindset is an amazing, amazing thing if you can have it. I'll tell you a quick story about. I met my wife. She couldn't walk. Was told she couldn't have children. She walked down the aisle when we got married, and clearly had 400 kids. We got a 10-year-old daughter, and we had quadruplets 3 years later. So, and that was all just pure mindset about getting to a point and doing something. And wanting to achieve something that everyone told it was almost impossible, or probably basically impossible. So it's for me, that mindset's amazing. Which I suppose brings me around to my next question: is you very much around the mental health aspect of things, and I'm very much around gratitude and positive mindset. What do you say, or to you, what is the difference in the two, or if there is even a difference?
I think gratification and positivity mindset has to be in the process of transforming into a positive mental well-being mindset. So there's a thing you can have, it's like called the mental health continuum model, which I produced something a few years ago, and I use it quite regularly. And it says like checking in on how you are. So if you understand that everyone has mental health and mental well-being of some sort, but you could be in red, amber, yellow, or green. So if you seek gratification and you're positive around stuff, you're more likely to be in the green side to it. But if your mind's different and you're struggling and you're going into that red and amber part to it, then you won't be probably seeking that. But your job is to try and get to that point. So there is massive similarities to it. I think your part is more about how do you physically maintain that? And gratification is such an underutilized thing that people can sit there each day and just say, right, what are 5 things I'm grateful for? And that could be the most smallest things in the world. And it puts you back into, and actually, I don't know whether you've ever come across this. I watched a piece around it, and they were talking around how your brain it's like a bullshit detector in your brain.
Yeah.
So if you want to go and do challenges and you go, well, I'm going to go and run 20 miles, the brain's going to go, no, you're not. Like you can't even go around a corner, mate. So what's your next challenge? And then the motivation doesn't work. If you combine gratification within that, you're telling the brain the stuff that you've already done or you've already achieved. And it puts you into it. And the brain then starts to believe. And that's how you can change your mindset into that motivational mindset through gratification. And it getting up every day and just sitting there. Like Kel does it each day. My partner Kel does it each day. She's manifested huge amounts of her dreams just through gratification. And I'm sitting there, I call her a witch sometimes because some of the stuff she does just via those processes. But even today, like she writes it in a book, and today we had the twins are up and we're up early. Didn't have time to write in a book, so we just sat there and said, like, what are you grateful for today? So there's massive synergies between both of them. I think with mental health, it's more about what you almost have to understand with mental health is there's 2 spectrums to it. There's the family and the tribal support who can help you, who's around you, that can just cheer you up when you're feeling a bit down and a bit grey and you need some help, you need some sunshine in your life. And then there's the professional side to it, going, okay, what is really your barriers that you need to really dig deep and unlock? You need someone who knows what they're doing to help you on that journey. Otherwise, it can be very dangerous. You can unlock some stuff and you don't have to go into trauma and then you don't have to deal with it. But it all combines into one, and it's just understanding literally where are you on that spectrum. And like a phenomenal thing about gratification and positivity, it's infectious,
and it's free.
Yeah, exactly.
I think for me, I was in a pretty dark place. When I say dark, I just wasn't enjoying where I was, and then I lost my job and got quite bad into alcohol and all sorts of other rubbish. And I started this gratitude story then, but along with it, 5 goals. So I don't know if it was, you probably call it manifestation, and it sounds like we're probably talking about the same thing, but it's 5 things you're grateful for and 5 things you want to achieve.
Nice.
And it's not going to cost me anything. So I got myself a little book, and every morning I would write it, and then I got a bit struggle. Sometimes during the day I would write it again at lunchtime, and then I would write it at dinner time. And that was probably in the June of 2009. I wanted a new job, so I lost my job. I was retrenched. And then I was like a hobo. I had nowhere to work. And then I started doing this stuff in June. But I had to get through other stuff first before anything could happen. So I remember going out. I was on a massive party. It's what I spoke about in my TED talk. It was right at the beginning. It was like I was at this madhouse, mountains of drugs and all sorts of nonsense. And my brain just went, that's it. It's done. You need to stop. And literally, from the minute I made that decision, my entire life changed. And I knew inside that it had changed, because you always get someone say, yeah, I'm stopping, and they don't stop. But like I made a decision, and I woke up on the Monday and I was done. And it's been 13 years now. Yeah. But I knew when I woke up on that Monday that like the decision, that switch had been turned. And literally things started happening. Within 7 days, I met my wife. Okay. A month later, after that, I moved into a place on a golf course, got a new job. Not even a year later, had a new car, was one of the things I wanted. And then I wanted to buy a house, and I think I wanted all my kids to be living with me. A year and a half later, I bought a house. A year and a half later, after that, all my kids were living with me.
Yeah.
So it was the goals. But then someone says to me, you just wrote it down on a piece of paper. I said, yeah, I did write it down on a piece of paper, but I had to take some actions in order to get the things I wanted. It's not going to just happen. I think Jim Carrey said it the best. He said, you can't write it down, hope for it, and then sit down and have a cup of tea and a sandwich. You got to get out there and get there. So that they asked me how manifestation works. So I perceived it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was it opens up your brain to see the opportunities, and then it's up to you to do something about it.
100%.
That's the simplest I can put it. But yeah, that whole manifestation, it's setting the goal, making it real, and then you'll start seeing the cues.
Well, like if you put my perspective, my partner Carol, she a few years ago, she wanted to have twins. She wanted to meet someone like me. She wanted to work in special needs because she was fed up with working in mainstream schools.
Yeah.
And she wanted to train to be a counsellor, eventually into special needs counselling. So she set out this she had her vision board, and she set out and she did the gratification and really visualised everything. And literally, it's like, I went round the first time I went around the place, she had a picture of a guy called Charlie Hunnam, the actor. He had the beard and thing, a bit like my hair, like this. And I said, who's this guy there? And she's like, I said, why does he look a little like me in the picture? She said, I want to manifest someone like you. And then obviously when we were expecting, and they said, there's, we thought, we're going to have twins, because she was like, Ted and Erin's going to be here. And even when we went down that route and they said identical, she said, I think somewhere down the line, they're not going to be identical. I've got this feeling. And then they ended up being a girl boy. So as much as people think it's a bit like hocus pocus, there is phenomenal stuff behind it. But going back to what you were saying around that day you woke up, that's the bit where you draw a line and you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm fed up now. Like, that's the bit. And that's the difference between someone saying, I'm going to give up smoking. But that's the way you've gone, no, I'm like, I'm done. I'm sick of looking at myself and being that way. I'm going to draw a line. And then when you start to write that stuff down, that accountability, that becomes I call it accountability mirror. Like, you've got to sit there each day going, these are my goals and these are what I'm grateful for. Like, and I've drawn my line here. So what am I going to do about it? And that any transformation starts from within, from you. Like, even going back to what I said about my coaching with clients, like, everything starts internally from an organization. It starts from the leadership. It starts from all the people at the bottom. But you have to take that first step and start to believe in. Like, I've got the quote I use is, become the person you deserve to be. You got to make sure, you got to sit down and go, like, am I deserving it? Like, have I actually reached who I deserve? Am I accountable myself? Am I making sure I stand up and look at myself in the mirror going, yep, I've deserved this? And it does massively help, especially when it comes to getting in that mindset of things like, when you want to be accountable for things, you have to stop the blame part to it. Because that's like, when you start to blame, it's their fault, my fault, like, that's their fault. This happened to me because of that. And every time if you come inwardly back at yourself and going, like, questions you ask yourself is, why is this happening to me? But like, what am I going to learn from this? And how am I going to grow from this? awkward at the same time. If you go around and say, yeah, it's my fault, I'm in this environment, this isn't my life, I'm here, it then takes all the accountability and the ownership back on you. And then you can then go, right, how am I going to fix this? But if you go, right, it's their fault, they did this to me, it's like you're taking the ownership, and they've got your fire now, they've got all your accountability, and then nothing comes back on you. So
yeah, I think that's the key, is you've got to own it.
Own it massively.
And it's okay. Like, everyone makes mistakes, and whether it's a big mistake, a bad mistake, or whatever it is, you need to own your choices, because at some point you've got to realize that the choices you made is why you are here where you are today, doing the things that you're doing. What do they say? Where thoughts go, energy flows. So
definitely,
if bad things are happening to you, you've probably got negative things going through your mind, or you portraying negative on your future. And I think this is what I love about gratification, because it takes you out of, and I never looked about this until I read this the other day. It was amazing. I always just thought, because you're focusing on things to be grateful for, it gives you that positive. You're not looking for negative things, you're looking for positive things. But the spin-off I'd never thought about was it brings you into the now.
Yeah.
Because you only worry about things that have happened or things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can't focus on what's actually happening. And when you focus on what I'm grateful for now, it takes you out of the past or the future, and it brings you back. So it sort of brings you back into the present moment, which is probably why people that are grateful for a lot of stuff seem to be a lot more positive.
Yeah.
Because they're not worrying. They're like, okay, your petrol tank's only got enough for today. So you can't do tomorrow's problems with today's energy.
Yeah, definitely. Massively.
Yeah. So I love that. It brings that back to now.
And actually, we suffer as a whole species of just living in the now. Because we either struggle to have dealt with things that have happened to us in the past, and acceptance of that, because the moment you accept that, like, that's happened now, I can't change it. But what is today is I'm grateful for this. And also I'm grateful for this today. So as much as there's stuff in the future I want to achieve, today is what I'm standing on, and it grounds you back into who you are and where you are right now in your life. Yeah, massively.
Yeah, and that's where you got to live now. It's just it was a decision, when our quadruplets were born, that we had made to live one day at a time, and we'd just literally take it one day at a time. And I think people also mistake that you'd say we'll live one day at a time, that you don't plan and you don't have goals and stuff. But you need to have goals, and you need to have things to work for. But you still need to live every day as it comes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and speaking about manifestation, and you as coaching estate agents and stuff like that, or any business or any personal life, is I had someone ask me the other day, yeah, but my friend, quit a job based on this whole vibe of manifestation and nothing's happening. So I said, well, what is her goals? And she said, yeah, she just wants a better job and she wants to earn more money.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, that's great. So how much do you earn? And so let's for example say £1,250. I said, well, here's £1,255. That's more money. Is that what you want? So you've got to be, I think, specific when you're laying out your plans and your goals and the things that you want to, but like super specific about what you want, like granular, right down to the detail. And I think that's where your partner she was so granular about what she would, that she had pictures of what she wanted.
Oh, literally. But if I can't turn the camera around, but we've just designed our ones in the last month.
Yeah.
And she was showing me how to do it. And she said, literally, you have to go, I'm not going to earn more money. It's like, here's a visualization of a pay packet that you found with the money you want to earn each month. So is it going to be £8,656.43, an actual pay slip? Like, I've got other things up there, which is the house. And she said, okay, the house you've always wanted, you have to show the visuals of it. What does that house look like? So you can visually see what that means to you.
Yeah.
So like I went all crazy. I was like, I want everything and anything. And she was like, no, you strip it down. And she showed me her one. And her one is literally like one of the things that she did was the counselling element to all special needs children, special needs teacher. And she literally had that, and she had no experience. She'd never done anything on that part. but there was the direction, like you said, like it's good to say I want to earn more money, but then what does that mean? Like you said, is it an extra £5 or is it an extra 30 grand a year? Like, is that is yeah? So very specific is the correct way I think of doing it.
Because we all want something better, but what does better look like?
Yeah,
And I think it's because everyone will wake up and say, "Well, I manifest, I want a better life." Yeah, but what does your better life look like? It's
yeah,
all good saying I want something better, but if you walked into my life and you said to me, "I want a better life," and I'm going to go, "Okay, great. Here's £100. Go buy yourself some ice cream." Surely
yeah,
that's made your day better.
yeah,
But I mean, it's So I think people need to understand when the manifestation or goal setting or achievements or whatever works for you has got to be specific.
yeah, definitely.
And I think when you're specific like that and you start marrying that up with being grateful and owning your decisions and stuff like that, and all of a sudden things start getting a lot easier to work through.
I think it does refine, like it helps you refine also distractions and what to say no to and what to say yes to. Because if you start to then like define it, I've got an ADHD brain, so I just start, I've got like 25,000 projects going on my head at one time, and that's helped me refine it. Just sitting down with Kel, and they started to work out, going, okay, my vision's this, my goals are this. So sometimes you have to look at it and go, do I get involved within that? And you go, is it going to help me to achieve what I want to achieve out of it? And it's like, no. So like, should I just say no to that? Because that's wasted energy and time towards something I really greatly want to achieve.
Yeah. And that's the thing is every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And that no
Yeah,
is normally one of your own personal goals or achievements.
definitely.
So yeah, that's it. What was yours? You said you had a saying that your quote that you're living by at the moment.
It says, become the person you deserve to be.
Yeah. So mine in the last couple of weeks is I've changed it, and I've really it's something that struck me is, am I making a difference in someone's life today?
Yeah, nice.
Because if you make a difference in other people's lives, it makes everything better, if that makes sense. It makes their life better. It makes your life better. And things start opening up for you when you live your life helping other people. Because I think by nature we should be, what do they call it, serving people, if that's the case. But yeah, I think that's a good bunch.
When I started going into the mental health charities and that sort of side to it, the main part was like save one extra person's life, and that's what it was a part of it. So when I go and do these runs and stuff, I look at it, and when I'm in my most, like, when you're in your head and you're on mile 18 and you're like, this is bad and I'm going to give up, I always relate back to saying, right, I've raised this much money, I know this many calls can be made, and that one of those calls could just literally be the difference between someone being here and someone not being here. Like there's a great thing that happened when we initially set up Fight Train, the sort of branding, and I had a guy reach out to me, and he was known to two of my brothers, but he was really struggling with his work. He'd split up his partner, and we were doing the inspirational alphabet during the lockdown. So A to Z each day, pick a letter and what that means to you for inspiration. And he messaged through and he basically said, I'm really struggling. I've seen some of your stuff. It's really helpful for me because obviously we're in lockdown at the time. He says, anything I can get involved with? And I said, here's G tomorrow. Go and do G. And he actually went out next day, filmed it in his van about things he's grateful for. And then he started to become an ambassador of ours and then go down that journey. And since then, he's now got his own company. He's rekindled his relationship with his partner. And so much stuff has just transformed it. And I look back and you think, those are the moments that mean something when you try and go out and try and help others within that society, because he's a better person for his partner, his friends, his family. He knows what he's been through. It becomes infectious in that part. And so to have that and what you're looking to achieve is awesome in its capacity, because of like so many people were like got different slogans, and have that's pure just unselfish giving. So yeah, phenomenal. Well done on you on that part.
Well, that's it. So before we wrap up, speaking of mental health, if there's anyone that does catch us that may be struggling quietly and on their own,
Yeah.
Some tips that they can start on their own, either to identify or
Yeah.
plan to get help, or maybe start working on, or because you yourself said you didn't want to speak to someone, so they might be in that situation where they're not ready to talk to anyone yet. What can they do to help them and identify what their needs are, for example?
Okay, so the first one I would say is you have to find the one person you might have in your life that you can have vulnerability with, and be very, very, just, you've got to open up, and it will be like literally a whole release of how you feel towards it, because you're removing that mask eventually. So, and you can go to them without judgment. If you know that person's there, do it. They're never going to judge you for it. They're going to thank you, because they'd rather you be here than not be in this world. So just thinking that part. If you are struggling, you don't have those people involved around your environments. One, you've got to just try and remove yourself from people who might be bringing you into those mindset. And that's real big around self-awareness. Collecting your own thoughts and understanding your own thoughts. Why am I thinking this way? And like, it was a great one actually put up last week, which I researched into, and it was just like very simple. You should have a 2% personality. So like you have negative Nigel, whatever it is, in your brain, and then you have your champion version. So name all your negativity stuff, and then have a little champion and let them have a fight out between it. So as you come into it, it splits you from being like Rob, and then there's like negative part of Rob, and it allows you then to try and tackle it, because it's not your individual self. So you're splitting out yourself from that. Obviously, if you're really struggling and you are at that last tethers and you don't know where to turn to, go onto an NHS website and just speak to someone. There's some amazing charities out there who will literally listen to you and just help you offload that part. And the other part is just seeking professional help. I see a lot of people who struggle with it, and they try and help. They get their family and friends involved within it, but they're not professional enough to try and help you deal with maybe some more complex stuff you might be going through. So reaching out to those charities and trying to speak to certain companies like Mind out there who can offer particular counselling services. If you go down the route of counselling as well, every counsellor is different, as every coach is different, and every person is different. So if you explore one session with someone who does counselling and you don't get the vibe from them and they don't help you, don't tarnish that counselling is all the same. Find another person that might be suitable for you, that you feel you're a bit more vulnerable with, and a bit more open up and explore stuff with. And yeah, just stay accountable. It's just, you need to take that step. That's the first step. Just trust me on that journey. You go down that journey of just being vulnerable. The person who I was pre 2016 to who I am now, I own my emotions. I'm very vulnerable about them. And now I can stand and cry about how I'm feeling, but equally at the same time, I go out and run a marathon. So like, no one can turn around and sound weak, because go and find that mindset at 20 mile 21, 22, 23, when you've got no legs left and you're blistered up. Like, my mind's bulletproof in that part. Doesn't mean that I can't be an emotional man at the same time with it.
Yeah, very much so. A lot of people think they see the gratitude and the positivity that myself and my family have, and they think naturally we're just happy people. And I'm like, we're not always happy. There are days when life is just shit and it's like a horrible day, but we choose to look at the positive side of things, and we have that optimistic outlook, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. So if you do get into a healthy state, you're still going to have bad days. It's just you find a better way to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, I say the last thing I'll probably leave on it is, I call it what's your maintenance week look like? So like, I say it's like, if you were to put on a piece of paper and call it your personality jigsaw piece puzzle, and you write down all the stuff that makes who you are. Like, I like to go and walk, I like to go and run, or I like to read, I like to cook, or whatever it might be. You is your true self that makes you smile each time. Write those pieces down like you'd have as a jigsaw piece puzzle, and then sit there and go, okay, right, is this all balanced, or is one jigsaw piece puzzle taken up and removing loads of them being done? So if 50% of that's work, I'm losing 40% in some other stuff. And then what that then happens, it helps you identify. And then each week you can sit on it and you go, right, what's my maintenance? Oh, actually, I'm doing too much work and I'm not spending enough time with my children, or I haven't done that walk that I should have done. And it allows you to just stay maintained in that moments of just being who you really are.
Absolutely. There's some really handy tips. Yeah, we need to catch up with this some more and dig deep into some of this stuff, but I'm mindful that we've taken up a lot of time today. So, Rob, thank you very much for joining us today. It's a pleasure. We hope we'll definitely do this again. There's loads to talk about. Yeah, so thanks a mil, and we will catch up with you soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Have a good one. Cheers, everybody.